Hello and welcome to Vox Markets. I'm Barney Gray, Specialist Oil and Gas Analyst, and I'm delighted to be here today talking to Paul Haywood, Chief Executive of AIM-listed Block Energy, ticker BLOE. Block is the foremost oil and gas E&P company operating in the Republic of Georgia. Welcome to Vox, Paul.
Thanks, Barney. Thanks for having me.
Great. For those new to Block Energy, can you offer a brief overview of the company and a nice summary of what you do and how you do it?
Sure. So we're an oil and gas producer focused on the Republic of Georgia, and with an interest in 5 production sharing contracts. The short, medium-term strategy is pretty much focused around the drill bits. Our interests are somewhat focused on mature development of existing fields, and the target for the company is to continue to increase oil and gas production throughout this asset base.
Great, and you had a very exciting release out on Friday on Block's acquisition of Schlumberger's Georgian portfolio, and we see that that deal is about to close this week. The deal itself has been amended from the original announcement back in March. Can you tell us a bit more about the deal, what's different, and how these changes might affect Block?
Yes, indeed. There's been 3 material enhancements to the transaction since it was signed back in March, Barney. The first of which is, of course, Schlumberger are assigning their crude oil inventory to us, which is kind of in and around 30,000 barrels. So, that's a welcome addition to the transaction, and certainly helps bolster up Block's balance sheet. The second piece, or the second enhancement, I would say, is the fact that Schlumberger have agreed to leave their expats in place post-completion to ensure that we can handle a solid integration process of the assets, which is a welcome addition, actually. That the guys there in country have been operating the assets since 2017, so an efficient handover of all the corporate memory and also operational learnings is of course key. So that's a welcome addition. And of course the firm completion date. Completion has been somewhat a moving target since signing the transaction, consequence of border restrictions and the difficulty of having our own staff travel into Georgia. But that, of course, has now been dealt with, and we've achieved a firm completion date.
That's great news. And obviously, with no cash changing hands, you get to retain resources within the company. Can you give a brief kind of reminder of the outline of the terms of the original deal that you agreed back in March?
Yeah, so it's pretty straightforward, actually, Barney. It was a straight equity deal whereby Schlumberger become a circa 20% shareholder of Block in return for the assets. So Block take control of the PSCs associated with Block 11B, which is home to the largest discovery ever established in Georgia, actually. It's kind of the flagship asset of the country. Peak production back in the 70s was around 70,000 barrels of oil a day. Cumulative production to date is around 200 million barrels. So it's a world-class opportunity. And then there's the additional assets, Block 9, which sits just north of Tbilisi, is over 2,000 square kilometres and holds a bundle of different opportunities, both at shallow depth and slightly deeper. So, we're really excited to have these assets in the portfolio, and it really does change the entire look of the company.
Yeah, I mean, with the deal now closed, you have, as you said, got a very exciting portfolio, not to mention some significant production, which you might be able to outline. Can you tell us what you might be able to expect from the new assets over the next 12 months or so?
Yeah, so the short-term focus is certainly going after a plan that was predetermined by Schlumberger during their ownership. There's a fully baked development plan for the Middle Eocene, which of course is the play that we've been chasing in West Rustavi to date. The difference being, as you move north from West Rustavi into Block 11B, where the lion's share of production from the country has been had to date. The Middle Eocene thickens by a factor of 3.5 times. So it goes from 200 meters thick in West Rustavi up to around 650 meters thick, which is why it's been it's been far more prolific in terms of production as you move north into the country. So we've got a short-term kind of Middle Eocene development play that we're certainly keen to get after. And then longer term, which was actually the primary focus for Schlumberger whilst they were in country, they pulled together a 14-well development plan for low Eocene gas potential, which is a contingent resource of around 600 BCF, which, for onshore Georgia, you're drilling these wells at anywhere between $8 to $10 million a shot. is a really exciting play, and one of which that our technical team are currently working up actually. So the short-term focus, let's go for the low-hanging fruit in the Middle Eocene, one of which has been a proven play to date, and then longer term, certainly want to start having a crack at that lower Eocene gas potential, because that's a company change of that.
Yeah, well, that's excellent. I mean, and you made mention of your existing assets, which we shouldn't really overlook at all, because you've made significant progress there. Can you give us a brief overview of the existing assets in the company, particularly operations on West Rustavi, where we also noticed you had an exciting announcement only a week ago regarding the gas sales. Can you give a bit more colour there?
Yes, indeed. So the primary activity in West Rustavi, of course, has been re-entering historical wells and drilling horizontal sidetracks, of which we had some mixed results throughout 2019 into 2020, which the market will be well aware of. 38 has been a very stable producer for us, and we've actually moved towards being able to commercialise our gas through the acquisition and install of an early stage production facility, which was recently commissioned. Block has actually completed its side of that project, installing the EPF and all associated lines to ensure that we can tie 16 and 38 back into that unit. And we now wait for our off-taker Bargo to complete the construction of their sales pipeline, which will then lead us into first gas sales, which, by all accounts, Barney, has been one of the, alongside completing the Schlumberger transaction, has been a very important short-term objective for the company, and a significant milestone on completion. So we're looking very forward to that event.
Yeah, and I understand that the facility that you've already got in place now does have quite significant capacity for extra wells to be tied in into the facility.
You've got it. We've got 6 inlets available to us immediately, of which 2 are occupied now, of course, with 16 and 38Z. We've got four spare inlets there, and certainly looking to tie some additional wells back to that system and ensure that we utilise capacity. It's also important to note, Barney, that all capex for that project from Block standpoint has now been sunk. There's no additional capital requirements for us, so we are literally awaiting Bargo to complete their sales line so we can recommence production.
So it looks like cash flow is very imminently on the horizon for this particular asset.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's a fantastic summary, Paul. I mean, just to kind of get things in a nutshell, to tie things up, can you give our viewers 3 reasons why they should invest in Block Energy?
Well, I'd say the Schlumberger transaction is a transformational acquisition for us. There's going to be lots of news flow coming out consequent to that acquisition in due course. So it's certainly worth keeping an eye on. We've, of course, got the commencement of gas sales creeping up upon us, which, again, is yet another major milestone. And I think in and alongside that activity, we hope to be getting busy with the drill bit again sometime very soon. So updates on all those actions will be made to the market in due course.
Great. Looks like plenty more to come. Well, yes. Paul, that's absolutely fantastic, and thank you very much for your time and that summary today. For those interested in keeping up to date with Block Energy, press the follow button on the company page on the Vox website. Thank you. Thanks and goodbye.
Thanks, Bonnie.